Thierry, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Now, this year's a big one for the PFA. It's 50 years of the PFA Awards. You're the first person to win it back to back. Now, every winner I speak to, the first question's always, where does that award rank for you? Because you've won everything in the game, but is winning the award that's voted for by your peers, the people you play against, does it rank highly?
Yeah, it does. It does, because no disrespect to the other, trophies that you can win individually, but when the players are voting, they know. I'm not saying that all people don't know, but they play against you. They know exactly what the player is about and how tough it might be to play against him. But again, I'm gonna go back to something very important. When you play with the players that I played with, I have to mention them because it wouldn't have been possible for me to win it twice, or even to win it on one time. So it's who you play with. I have to mention that, and yes, it makes it extra special when players are voting. Yes.
When you look at that 02-03 season, it's the one you don't win the Premier League, but you break the record for the most amount of assists. You lead the goal scoring charts, just finishing second by one goal. How did you approach that season off the back of a successful season with Arsenal the year before?
It's kind of weird because it's individually, it's one of my best seasons ever.
Yeah.
Because to score 24 goals and have 20 assists, it just doesn't happen like that. But we didn't win anything, so I was gutted with that. I didn't know at the time that the 20 assists will go down in history. Obviously, KDB matched it. But it's so funny because I always said to people, and I will go back to the question, I care more about my assists than my goals. And I know people will say, really? Yes, really. I care. If not, I wouldn't have had 20. If I was shooting on sight and staying in the box to just wait for my goals, then I wouldn't have had 20. And it's funny, as you said, the last game of the season, Sunderland away. I think I'm ahead of Van Nistelrooy. I'm with Van Nistelrooy to win the Golden Boot. That would have been five in a row.
Yeah.
But I get 33 assists. And I always remember I gave him one, and you can have the picture. I think you will find the picture. I give him one, then I'm screaming, ready! And he chips it over the goalkeeper, and I looked at him and I went, hey, we're not playing anything.
Only one back.
Yeah, give me one back. I think we were 2-1 up or whatever. He didn't give it to me back. But you know what, Freddie, thank you, because I wouldn't have had 20 assists. And
a record that lasted a long time and is still there with Kevin De Bruyne.
Yes.
You say that's potentially your most complete season as a forward player, even though the team don't get those results. Does that come off the back of how you redefine that forward position? Because when you watch back your goals and people talk about you, you changed the way a forward player plays. Was that the season where everything clicked?
Look, I was a different type of 9, and I don't want to try to separate myself from anyone because I didn't have certain skills. And you have to recognize what you're good at and what you're not good at on top of everything. So I was always trying to make sure that you're never going to see my weaknesses, although you could see it. I wasn't a target man. I wasn't a guy that's going to break his neck to out jump someone on the first post or whatever. But I was a guy that used to come and try to play, make things happen, go down the wing, try to beat people, shoot from outside of the box, finishing a movement in the box. So I was like, okay, what can I do for everyone to understand that I'm not a box player? Because I used to get killed. You guys will not hear it, obviously. But even at Arsenal, sometimes I'm drifting, like I used to do, drifting of the centre backs and trying to stay on the left. I always used to hear the Arsenal fans was like, "What are you doing? Get in the box!" And I'm looking at them and I'm like, you want to say something, but you don't. So I'm like, how can I make them understand I'm not that guy? So you have to perform first. You have to deliver and execute what you need to execute. Then everyone was like, oh, well, okay, let him do what he has to do, but it doesn't come like that. So I was like, at the beginning of my career, I was like, how can I make people understand that giving is also important? and it's as important than scoring. Can someone explain to me why at the beginning of the season it was always, and I said it so many times when I arrived at Sky, working for Sky, I said, can we have the graphic also of who is on top of the assist chart? Why are you telling kids all the time the most important thing is to score, the most difficult thing in the game is to score? Yes, but what about the pass? Why are we not talking at the beginning of the season? It's always who's going to win the Golden Boot. Yeah, that's important. But who's going to win the assist chart? Who's going to be? Why you don't give a trophy to the guy? Now it's in.
Fantasy League's got everyone caring more about assists.
No. I said it. I'll claim that.
Yeah.
There's no Fantasy League. I've been saying it for a very long time. A striker can give. A striker can move. Now, a striker that can move, do that. If you cannot, stay in the box. I'm talking about the perception of people. Why does an assist suddenly now, because we're talking about it, and rightly so, and thankfully, but without a pass, do you score often? You're at the end of a movement. This is why I mentioned my team. You are at the end of a work from your team. Cross, you score, and you go and run alone. I scored. Oh, no, we scored.
Yeah.
We scored. And I go back to what you asked me. I wanted to make people understand that it is a team effort. And if you look at some of my assists, sometimes I put the goalkeeper down and I pass it back.
Yeah.
I know I could have scored way more goals, but what does it send? What message do I send to my teammates? Are we together? Like, do I share? Do I give penalties sometimes? Yes. Do I cross back? Do I move for someone to enter the box? Yes. You have to recognize what you're good at and not good at. So this is why you asked me the question. Was it important for me? How did I change the game? I wanted to make people understand that when you play as a winger, because I played as a winger, or Juve as a wing back, believe it or not, when you go up and down the whole game, and you break your neck to cross the ball back for the strikers, and he scores the tap in, and he goes and run on the other side.
There's nothing worse.
Like he won the game.
Yeah.
By the way, he did.
Yeah.
But we won the game, right?
Yeah.
That guy that crosses the ball that still have grass in his teeth because, then suddenly the guy goes on the other side and grabs the headline. And the game will always be about that. I understand. But can we talk about that guy? Can we talk about the guy that saved the ball on the line also? Can we talk about the goalkeeper? Can we talk about the holding midfielder? Unfortunately, in the game, it doesn't happen often. I wanted to explain and tell people and talk about, because now people are talking about assists. You're talking about my assist season. But at the time, no one was talking about the 20 assists.
You're also known as one of the most prolific goal scorers, 5 years above 30 goals across all competitions in an Arsenal shirt. Taking that mentality of a team effort, because it was an Arsenal team everyone loved to watch. Mm-hmm. Going into the season where you won the PFA back-to-back and you go invincible, how did the mentality change at Arsenal? How did you go into that season off the disappointment of the season before?
Yep. First and foremost, you lost it, so you want to win it again. Because obviously Man United took it back from you, so you're like, okay, this season is business, which for me it was before, also for us it was before, but you also have Man United upset because they lost the season before, so you got to understand that. And just one day at a time, one game at a time. It's just, I always say, people talk about the invincible season. In 01-02, we also won the league unbeaten away from home. We didn't lose a game away from home, which is crazy, technically. We lost all our games at home, if I remember well, if I'm not mistaken here. But then you go back to the 03 or 4. I didn't want to go on holiday. I didn't want to go to no tournament, no nothing. I just wanted to come back and go to our preseason and be ready to get what belongs to us, I thought at the time, and I'm sure it was the same for United. But that's where my spirit was. That's what I wanted to do, and obviously everyone was on the same page, if I can say. If you hurt a competitor and if you just like poke them, then we came back stronger.
And I think
Henry, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Well, you can't keep a good man down.
And I think watching you during those years, you oozed confidence. There was this aura. Was that how you led the team, that you just wanted to be the focal point, the confidence, the goals, the assists?
Again, I go back, I played in an outstanding team. People don't mention Lauren. Lauren was an outstanding right back. Ashley Cole. I mean, even sometime on TV, they don't mention Ashley Cole. Ashley Cole was one of the best, if not the best left back in the world at one point. Easily. And what he won, let's forget about it. But it doesn't get a mention. I don't know why. Then we have Jens. Jens was a bit particular, as we all know. But then you had Colo Touré and Sol Campbell, Gilberto. Everyone talked about Patrick. Everyone talked about Robert, Freddie, because of his look and everything. Where Paula was doing a job. Nyanko Kanu, Gilberto, Dennis up front, Nyanko up front. You had Sylvain Wiltord that was coming, also doing his job at the time throughout his time at Arsenal. But hey, look, you just. I like to play. I liked to play with letting people know it's on. My look was going to let you know. And I lost games, yes, and I wasn't good all the time. We all know that. It cannot happen. But my demeanor was going to tell you it's going to be tough for you today. Whether I was going to do it with the ball, my celebration, the way I looked at you, the way I used to look at the fans. I think that's why people always say why there was an understanding with me and the fans. It's simple. Any Arsenal fan will tell you that when I was upset, I couldn't hide it. When I was happy, my way of being happy was a different way of being happy that people always have. But I was transparent. I wasn't an actor, and therefore you could see, people could relate, I guess, or whatever. But I wasn't good all the time, like I always said. But I always try to give 100. And I think that's one of the most important things. And sometimes you win a game with your look, with the way you look at people. Sometimes I was dead in games. But in the tunnel already, you need to make sure that you look strong, you act strong. Sometimes you won the game there. You already know when people are looking at your boots, looking at your shot. I'm like, okay, it's done today.
Go time.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Call it cocky, call it confident, call it however you want to call it. But you need to have an edge when you arrive at the top. I said the other day, they asked me about the current Arsenal squad and about Bukayo Saka. I don't know any great players or good players that are nice. Gotta have that edge. You need to have, when you look at me, you know, if you look at me on the field and you need to have the feeling, yes, that's what you need to see in my eyes. Whether I'm gonna give it to you on the field or not, the eyes will tell a lot, and you need to feel that. And a lot of the guys behind that. When you look at Patrick, when you look at Gilberto, Sol Campbell, and all of that, they had that, and that's why I think that season was particular, because we had a little edge.
Well, you had a whole generation of kids in this country with socks above their knees,
Yes,
going for the R1 circle,
I
the
want-
boot finish.
You love, but I want again to go back with being confident. And I tell everyone, and especially the kids, don't let, obviously within the frame of what you can do, don't get me wrong. Don't let anyone tell you what you cannot do or how you should look, and what you should wear, and whatever it is. When I first arrived, the long socks, the gloves. Remember, because they didn't even have any gloves. I had to wear light blue gloves. I don't know if you remember that, short
So it's
sleeves.
become iconic.
I used to get killed. What I said to you, away at home. So my socks were high because of Sonny Anderson. I don't know if you know Sonny Anderson, but he used to wear his socks always high over his knee. I looked at him and said, that looks good. So from that point, I always used to arrive on the field, because after when you play, they go down, right?
Yeah.
But I used to arrive on the field with my socks there and my gloves. But if I did listen to what people were shouting in the stand, or what people were saying about me, or how I looked, then as you're saying, you said that, I inspired a generation. But if I listened to what people were saying, then I would have stayed in the box. You would have seen my weaknesses. I wouldn't have had the socks high, no gloves. I was like, how can I make them understand who I am? Like I said to also every single kid, you got to perform.
From those 2 seasons where you won PFA Player of the Year, is there a standout goal, one that's your favourite? Because there was so many classics that make it into all-time great goals.
The Liverpool goal at Highbury.
Sidestepping one, sidestepping two. That is brilliant. That is simply stunning.
Because of the defeat against United in the Cup, the defeat against Chelsea in the Champions League, I was already upset because I didn't play the Cup game at Villa Park, and we lost against Chelsea, and I left the field with a hamstring problem. I was dead. I think we were all dead, and you could see there was something weird in that game. And I think Hipia scored the first goal, and then Michael went on a magnificent pass from Stevie G, made it 2-1. I think it's the first time I felt the stadium. So as everyone stopped breathing. Like, it was like, what's happening? And when I scored that goal, it's the first time also, like, we all, like, again started to breathe together. It was kind of weird. I think Perez made it 2-2, and then I don't know. It's a weird one. Not only because of the goal, and now I scored it.
Feel.
It's more that, and football will give you that. At that moment, everyone that was involved with Arsenal, and I scored it. It could have been anyone, but it was the 3-2, and I felt everyone breathing at the same time. You know, when you get that, whew, you know, that's why for me that goal is special. Again, not only because of how I scored it, but the impact that he had on people.
Well, look, Thierry, in this pile we've got everyone else who's picked up the PFA Player of the Year trophy. So we've pulled a few out of
Iceman.
Still
Dennis.
the best player you've played with.
I explained that so many times.
Yeah.
Because if you talk about the freaks that I played with, I'm going to mention obviously the Zidane and the Messi and whatever. But I need to explain something about this man, Dennis Bergkamp. So it's the longest that I played with, you know, as a duo or as seeing him in training. But this guy was the reason why I became what I became. Because this guy was always the first in training. The first, trying to be the first at everything. A run, technical, a passing drill, whatever it was, Dennis had to do it the right way, do it the Bergkamp way. And Dennis had a little edge also on the field. It was a bit...
That set the standard.
Yeah, but it was also, I won't say nasty.
Tasty.
But he, on top of what we all know, and this guy was the best example you can have as a professional, because he was such a thinker, intelligent, technically, tactically, but his demeanor also. Dennis had that look, that I'm better than you look, you know, and he was playing with that on you, but also the way he was, always first, always did properly, family man, no stories about him, no nothing. He was coming, doing his job. And I said that stories, I talk about that story so many times. 1 year he came back, he was supposed to go to Fulham. You know, it was the time where Arsenal, when you pass 30 years old, it was only 1 year, whatever. He did a whole preseason without a contract. Dennis Bergkamp, putting his footing, running like a lunatic. The respect that I have for this man is second to none, because he could have said, I'm Dennis Bergkamp. You know, what is this or whatever? No. Training is on. A drill is on. I have to pass the ball, wait for you to make the right one. This is what he was going to do. He was always doing what the game was asking him to do, and he could do something else. So for me, this guy is the best.
Well, I've put a few here. So we've got Kevin De Bruyne and Ronaldo, who are the only other two to win it in back-to-back years.
I'll talk about KDB because I see myself a lot with Kevin De Bruyne, because he complains, because he has a brain that you need to... It's very difficult to understand Kevin's brain. I came across him, obviously, in the national team, as you know, being an assistant. What he says, what he tries to do. I think, for me, as a midfielder, creator is the best I've seen in this league. By a distance.
How would he have got you a few more goals every year? How would you have played?
But
with
actually,
Kevin De Bruyne?
I explained to you why I see myself in him. I had the same character than him. When something wasn't going the way I liked it, I used to lose my marble. this guy is the same. If you take one piece of a watch, then the watch doesn't function the same way. Kevin will see the path of a goal, the path of what should have happened. And when you mispass the ball where the ball should have gone, he can see that mispass that you are like, why is he getting upset? Because I just squared the ball back to the keeper. He already saw
Passes
the
ahead.
path of where the ball should have gone. And in his mind, it's like, we just lost an opportunity to score. You didn't even realize he did. So sometimes when that gets in his head, he gets frustrated, and I used to be the same. So I had strong bonding with him. He's a special player, and I think what we've seen with him is just crazy. You know, I love him. I think, you know what, he's an outstanding player.
Is
And
he the one midfielder you wish you could have stepped on the pitch with?
with Kev, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Kev can play short, can play long, can play you in any way you want. It's so many players there I would have loved to play with. You know, we're talking about Ronaldo. I mean, what else to say? You know, this guy is just not normal. You know what we're saying. I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo is just a freak. But this guy, because of the reason that I explained to you, I love clever players. I love players that think, that see, that tries to understand what's happening. And obviously, he has a coach that is also just like him. That's what it works.
Yeah.
That's what it works.
There's a few players here you've had some good battles with over the years. Was there one of these that you knew it was going to be a particularly difficult day? One that you really didn't. The whole system was to null and void.
I have to talk about the big man.
Yeah.
Because I have to talk about Cantona. You have to understand that for us, it was like nobody was thinking about playing in the Premier League. You just don't think about that. You know, you have to mention Ginola, you have to mention a lot of players, but he was the one. He was the one that made people like the Frenchies, shall I say, or you know. But he was the one. Yeah. He was the one that started everything. So you have to give him his respect. This is why when I see him, and first and foremost, the player that he was, how he was, again, the demeanor, the look, the attitude, the almost, people say arrogance, I'll call it, he was a confident man. And he was letting you know, collar up, chest out, I look at you, who are you? You know, from toes to, you know, you don't look at people like that. But Cantona could. And everyone accepted that because it's Cantona. And for me, I have to give him his credit because without him, there wouldn't have been any other French players. Maybe, but who knows? But he's the guy that started it for me.
And the guy who ran you close for a few golden boots. You came out on top, but...
No, but you have to give Van Nistelrooy a lot of credit.
Yeah.
What a player he was, what a finisher he was. But people always talk... I get annoyed when people talk about Van Nistelrooy only about his finishing. He could hold the ball.
Yeah.
He could set you up. He could like invite people in. Yes, he was more of a finisher than anything else, don't get me wrong. But the work that he was doing also for others, always available. I mean, this guy, yes. I guess he was looking at what I did at the weekend, and I guess I was looking also at what he was doing
Did
at
he
the
score?
weekend.
Yeah, checking
because that's the story that it was. You know, there's so many people that I see there, like, you know, I have to mention the big man, Stevie G. I mean, this guy, it pains me to look at him and knowing that he didn't win the league.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to be sarcastic, understand me well. Like, Stevie G didn't win the league. It's just... You know, when I say it sounds weird, but it didn't. But that doesn't change. Again, I go back. The impact, what it did transmit, how it used to transcend people. You know, the energy, the aura, the attitude.
Did you feel that on the other side of the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, it was always, you know, I like Paul Scholes also the same way. This guy, when he was on, even when he wasn't on, he used to try to find a way to motivate people, to get the crowd behind him, to get players that maybe you would thought that were not that great suddenly because he talked or because he tackled someone or because he smashed the ball from 35 yards
and the ball
in the top corner. Everyone's like, we follow this guy.
Yeah.
We will follow this guy. This is what I'm saying sometimes. It's not so much about titles. It is, don't get me wrong. It's also about how do you inspire people? What do you transmit? How do you transcend people? And this guy, you know, when I think about Liverpool, and, you know, obviously the whole generation will give me other names, and rightly so, by the way. King Kenny and Ian Rush, and
Yeah.
But for me, he is Liverpool.
Now, I know you grew up were inspired by the likes of Ronaldo, George Weah, Pele. Out of the forwards in this pile and here, which one would you watch now if you were growing up coming into the game? Who's a standout forward that you'd have
Look,
appreciated
it's kind of weird. Didier Drogba is not in.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a few good ones who have missed out on the award.
Didier Drogba is not in. I'm like when I looked at it on arriving here, I didn't see his face. I was like, wow. But there is one guy that I want to mention, and people are going to say, "Oh, you're Belgium link or whatever," but this man. So I would share something with you guys. Like the other day, I was at home, and my son often goes and he kills me actually because he puts the same videos all the time.
Who's he watching?
About goal,
Yeah,
anyone,
yeah.
anything about anything, and he put the best goals of Eden Hazard. I even forgot.
Yeah.
Like, I sat. I'll be honest with you. I sat. And I was looking at his goals. I said to my son, "Can you rewind that one? Or can you rewind that one?" His goals, how he used to score them, how people used to kick him.
Every change of direction. Yeah.
How many solo goals he scored. Wow. That speaks to me because I won't say that was my game, don't get me wrong, but that speaks to me more than the guy that stays in the box because it was more my game to go and get the ball and try to do something. To be at the beginning of it and at the end. Not only at the end. For me, that was important. That's only me and my opinion, but Eden Hazard. Hey, go, have a look and watch his best goals. It's ridiculous.
Crazy
Left foot,
catalogue.
right foot, making people fall. Like he didn't have my frame. This is what I'm saying. It doesn't have my frame or the frame of Allen or the frame of Didier Drogba.
Yeah.
Like you understand why we make people fall. This guy, he's only small. Don't get me wrong.
Stay there.
Oh my gosh. Like we're talking about a small man.
Yeah.
He's just giving you his foot, boom, swiveling. You take this, you take that. Both of you. Oh no, too much. And then it was too much.
Thierry, before we finish, because we've been doing five-a-sides with a lot of people and you've made every single one. I'm not asking you to do it. We've made every single one of the teams. You've made a lot of them. But which Thierry would you choose? 02, 03 or 03, 04?
Oh, wow.
Which version of you is the better PFA Player of the Year winner, do you think?
We go individually.
Yeah,
not
just
what
you.
we want.
We got 02, 03, we got 03, 04. Which version of you is the best player of that season?
I scored more goals, obviously, or 3 or 4. I'll go with the one that had the most assists.
The record assist, yeah.
I said it all the time. The same in the national team. They asked me a couple of questions if I was, Giroud won it or whatever. I care mostly, and yeah, about my assists. So
02, 03 that's the one that's gonna go in.
Individually,
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's important to share. It's important to, and I know, yes, people will tell you, yeah, but you didn't win anything that season. I know, but individually, it matters for me to give, and so yeah. But
39 goals in all competitions in the other season.
yeah, but again, I go back to the same thing. You know what? I'll go back. You ask me something, and I go further. Goals or no goals, assist or no assist. If your team is not with you, if the guys don't have a certain quality. I had other season after where I scored goals and I have assists. We finished 4th. So take that out. Even 02 or 3 or 3 or 4. You can take it out. I go back to what I said, take it out. Without my team, without the team that I had at that time, I don't win titles. Even with solo goals or whatever. Because I scored goals after, we finished 4th. That tells you a story. Or 2 or 1. Same. I didn't score a lot. I did, but not a lot. And not a lot of assists. We won the double. So that tells you a story.
Well,
Your team has to perform. So Is it a better me, or 2 or 3 or 3 or 4? You need a good team. It was a better team, I guess, all 3 or 4 a team effort, and or 2 or 3 was more an individual effort. But I'll go back, man. I'll go back again. I needed my team. I needed players, although sometimes I make things happen alone. But over the 38 games, you don't make things happen alone. And I go back to another thing also, the help that you have in the dressing room sometimes when you guys don't see when we struggle mentally. There's a lot of stuff that we could have carried on and talk about. So I don't want to duck the question, but again, it's a message for the youngsters. Individually, that was my best season. We won nothing.
It's collective.
It always will be. It always will be. I don't care when people say, "Oh, he's got no." You come in the game to lift trophies, and with your teammates.
Well, Thierry, been a pleasure. Congratulations again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Back-to-back PFA winner.
Thank you.